greater strictness. For all of us make many mistakes. Anyone who makes no mistakes is speaking is perfect, able to keep the whole body in check with a bridle. If we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we guide their whole bodies. Or look at ships, though they are so large that it takes strong winds to drive them, yet they are guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great exploits. How great a forest is set ablaze by a small fire, and the tongue is a fire. The tongue is placed among our members as a world of iniquity. It stains the whole body, sets on fire the cycle of nature, and is itself set on fire by hell. For every species of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by the human species, but no one can tame the tongue, a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless the Lord and Father, and with it we curse those who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessings and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this ought not to be so. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and brackish water? Can a fig tree, my brothers and sisters, yield olives, or a grapevine figs? No more can salt water yield fresh. All right, familiar? Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to get there, but that's okay. So what did you hear first? Yes. Okay. Okay. There is an important part of that. Too. It does two things. What else? The other thing is God gave us one mouth and 2 ears. Yeah. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And well, okay. What? And I guess teachers held to a different standard. Just like say you go to church, you're held to a different standard. Right. Mm-hmm. So obviously James, who is a teacher, pastor of a local type congregation thing here, he obviously, and thinking back, and if we possibly can, take ourselves out of where we are to place ourselves back to where he is, that he's addressing things he thinks are important in this local congregation. So obviously, this notion of teachers is something that gives him some concern. Okay, everybody don't want to be a teacher because being a teacher means you're in the church you're held to a different standard. So everybody don't want to do that, and when we leap to modern day, that's a whole different discussion too. But so he has this nervousness, but yeah, he also wants to make it clear that he's not trying to set the standard too high because he says we all make mistakes. He's not trying to say that being a teacher makes you perfect, right? And then so there's that part. But he is kind of talking the notion that, yeah, this is a different moniker. And you're right that if you go, I mean, once you designate yourself in some way, shape, or form, once you put the little fish on the back of your car, people are hoping or expecting that there's a different standard of driving. Most of the time I have found that to be very false, you know. Or when you stick that up on your sign at your place of business, you're assuming there's some proclamation that there's some sense of integrity there. Again, I have found that not to be the case. So, but you're right. So there is a marker or a moniker that says, ooh, once you do this, you're proclaiming something that about yourself. So he kind of balances that out with saying not everybody's perfect. None of us are. Not as an out, but as a declaration that that's probably true. Okay? So what else? He offers us some images, right, to kind of to state his case, which these are all from philosophy of his day. He's just using things that they can relate to. You know, you have a horse, you put a bridle in its mouth, you can control a big old horse. You can make it go. I'm not very familiar with, I've ridden a horse once in my life. I know you're looking at somebody, you're like, you've actually ridden a horse? Yeah, I have. There was a year I was asked to be a circuit rider preacher at Duke Homestead and pretend like I was an old country preacher and wear the get up, and it was wool, it was itchy, it was burning up. And they said, oh yeah, by the way, now that you've agreed to do it, you have to ride in on a horse. And I was like, what? like a real horse? Like a real horse? Yeah, and I had to go practice, and no, it was a horse. You know, and I do remember getting there and going, that's big. That's a big horse. That's a big horse. Yeah. So fortunately, phones were. I mean, it was in. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, we had a bag phone, so we didn't. There are no pictures. Thank God. There is a picture of me in the outfit, right, but not on the horse. Yeah, yes. Yeah, but so I have it, and yeah, that little thing, and it can kind of control the horse. But it is a word picture that they can see. Here's this little bridle that controls this humongous animal. Or he goes to the ship. Here you have the pilot that drives the ship with the rudder. So he's trying to make this thing. And also, as we know, fires with California ever seeming to be with forest fires burning, that they tend to start pretty small, except for the one where the guy set the car on fire and rolled it down a hill, which is, that's weird. But normally the notion of that it starts with fire. And so he's making this point that they can all relate to. And then he ties it to this notion of the fire, the cycle of nature, which in their day they had this notion of the cycle of fate, really, is what it comes down to, is that your life kind of bounces in from fortune to misfortune, and it's just kind of a circle that leads you through life. That was their philosophical notion, that you kind of go through life and you have some good things, and then once you've had some good things, well, it's about time to have some bad things. So you circle around to that. But he is making that notion that the tongue, kind of like what we were saying before, is that the tongue can do good things and the tongue can do bad things. And that we talk and it can get us some positives and some negatives, which he goes into next too. And he talks about, he kind of takes it out of the philosophical realm and then pulls it in for a theological punchline that he's saying. I mean, these are things that you hear in philosophy all the time. You don't have to be in any kind of religious setting for us to know that, yeah, talk can get you in trouble, right? Or be careful how you say things. But then he ties it into, hey, y'all, the mouth, we praise God, and then we turn right around and curse people who are made in the image of God, which pushes everybody's thinking back to chapter 1 of Genesis, where it says, let us make them in our image. That the imago Dei, as they say, the image of God, that we're all human beings made in the image of God. And so he's saying, yeah, with this tongue, we can sit here today and we'll read our prayers and we'll pray our prayers and we'll say the things we're supposed to say. And maybe half of you will sing the hymns. It's about 50-50. but that we're supposed to sing that say praises to God. And then we'll go out and start bashing people, right? Because and he's saying this is because of who we are as a people of faith. This isn't the way we're supposed to be. That's not what we're supposed to be about with how we use language. That we're called to something really different. And so I have to tell you, for 29 years, I've really steered away from this passage because I talk a lot. So, so I've. I don't know that. Yeah. He's not going to find any notes on this one, but which again makes me nervous when somebody's telling me what I said, and then I'm like, "Ooh, did I say that?" So, but that notion of that this calls us to something really a higher place about who we are by what we say, and because we are in a culture today, as Ashlyn quickly pointed out. Is it time for us to even get there? No, we're not even there yet. But that we live in a world where we are constantly talking or posting things. And now our talk is just so much more elevated. And as a friend of mine pointed out the other day, the only thing that social media has done is given a lot of people a platform for voice that who cares? that we suddenly think that people want to know what I think. And I don't know that they do. But yet we broadcast things out all the time. And James is saying, hey, y'all, because of who you are as a people who follow Jesus, although he doesn't say that, but he is saying, because you're praising God with one voice on one side of your mouth, and on the other, you're bashing the Imago Dei, or the image of God in the likeness of other people. And it has this notion of like y'all said, we have two ears and one mouth, or what Mom used to say: if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Which is there's a lot of truth to that. But Mom and Dad also used to say, "Sticks and stones will break my bones, and words will never hurt you," and that's not necessarily true either. One might be true, but so parents were a mixed bag too. They were telling us all kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, and ultimately, what we should, Maybe that's this point that we have to really be careful as people of faith what we say that might hurt other people. And sometimes, and
or feed into the narrative that we as Christians are better than everybody else.
And there's that true too. Yeah, absolutely. Right, because there's a lot of that out there too, that, well, I'm a Christian, and so therefore, I'm above that. And you're like, well, maybe not.
Not for some of the things you said.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. If we hold ourselves to that. And so this is really, and probably the reason that I've always felt like this is a hard passage to preach on. First of all, again, I talk a lot. And that this notion of tying it to good news, because in a lot of ways he's pretty negative in this passage about things. But he is trying to call them to this, not just, hey, y'all, be nice because Mama said be nice. Or words can psychologically be damning to people. We know that, right? And that can happen. But he's saying it's even more than all those things. We're people of faith, and if we're praising God, we can't honestly, with any integrity, turn right around and bash the image of God in other people.
Those drivers drive me crazy.
Say what? Say what? What?
Those drivers who
I know, they do. They do. Yeah, I know. And what? Cut out. Oh, that's right. He does say, and he's being very careful there. Now this is where, now that we are time in modern day, let's think about that as far as like in the practical, pragmatic world. When I read this, I think of that. And so, yeah, my head has been all over the place this week about this passage, certain aspects of it, because the teacher part, and then he jumps straight from the teacher to this other section, and so he's probably just got so much paper he can actually write on, and so he's like going, okay, I've got to get in every single thought I can get in right now. I've got to get it in quick, but he's you know, it's kind of like X, I guess. He only has 120 characters, and I've got to get it in. So the teacher part, in this day and age, let's face it, when it comes to Christian ed, and we're looking for Sunday school teachers for the children, we'll take anybody. I mean, we're just like, we just need somebody in here to help. But he's calling us to something even different. And even taking it to a different level where when it comes to divinity school or seminary, in this day and age, they're hurting for students. They're hurting, these people are running out. It's not an issue anymore. Not everybody wants to be a teacher. He ain't kidding. They don't want to do this anymore. And so how do we get some to come actually do it? So that's kind of an interesting, do we just take anybody?
That's the problem. If you take anybody, it lowers the bar, so to speak.
Yeah. Possibly, right.
Because unfortunately, for a lot of things that we do, are we called to do them, or is it a job that we feel like
Right.
we can?
Yeah.
It's very different.
Right. Which I take back to, I've told y'all before, in divinity school, my first week at Duke, I was totally stunned when we were doing introductions in some of the Christian ministry class, how many of them said, yeah, I just didn't score high enough on LSAT, so I came to divinity school. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I couldn't hack it as a lawyer, so I'm going to come be a minister because, yeah, what else? What do you do? Yeah, I'll get to stand up and talk in front of people, but, all right.
How many of those were left at the end?
That probably a good question too. I mean, when we got through it, how many? I don't know. I was, again, coming from the circles I came in. Boy, you just didn't walk into this. I mean, at the psychological testing, like the average union student was like here, and I was like, because we didn't. Not everybody's better act like you got some sense if this is what you're going to do. So I was like, just freaking out the first week going, what are these people doing? And but there's that. So the teacher part, that's one aspect that we think about, that we hopefully take seriously. I don't really have answers as far as how we're supposed to approach Sunday school to go, oh, no, you can't be. I'm sure we do that on some levels, but on some levels too, it's like, man, we need somebody to teach the kids. So how do we balance that? Right? But the other part is the language part, and in a world where where it does seem like a lot of words are flying around these days that are really painful, what do we do? What does James want us to do as a people of faith and as the church? What do you think he wants us to do? And how do we approach that? Okay, he doesn't want us to talk. Okay, there's the one. That's a good answer. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I think he wants us to recognize where our talents are.
Okay.
And to avoid being the tongue that starts the fire.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
He's saying we have no business saying.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Say what? So is this too close to home for us? But, and truthfully, because as a person who is going to preach what I'm about to preach, anybody and everybody could walk up and say, you talk all the time. You say a lot of crazy stuff, you know.
I've got a little sign in my house that says, Lord, put your arm around my shoulder and your hand over my mouth.
Yeah, yeah,
Like example.
yeah. So,
Kind of like it says to Amy.
yeah, and ultimately it's probably why I have avoided it for all these years, is because it's like, I've told you lots of times I write the sermons to me. I said to definitely writing it to me, to make, and the other side of it is too, especially, and I noticed this while watching the mistake of reading comments, like on Facebook, like when somebody puts a meme up, instead of just going, okay, I don't like this one, so just scroll past, or, oh, I think that one's cute, and then you start reading, there's 72 comments, and then you read it and you go, oh God, why did I do that? That I feel like I have to respond. It is my responsibility to respond, because obviously whatever I say at this point will change everybody's mind and make them all understand. And so then we, and we keep it going. We keep the fire. And then suddenly there's not 72 responses, there's 127 responses. And then you realize as you see the posts these days, there's so many of them out there. Like, I'm scrolling through all over the place from all different sides, and I'm hiding some on my posts because I'm like, I don't want people to know that these are who my friends are. Just politically, all of it. I'm like, no, I meant from all over the place. Any kind of, there was one the other day, you just go, oh my God.
You can say it without any repercussion.
Yeah,
You
right.
can type it in
Yeah,
and
right.
not say
Yeah.
it in face.
Okay, there you go. Right. And James is saying there are repercussions
Yeah, you say that
for
to
us.
their face.
Yeah.
You can type
Yeah.
anything you want to.
Right.
And they would never say it to my face or to your
Yeah,
face.
yeah. But James is saying there are repercussions.
If you ever meet them somewhere, they
Yeah.
might be.
No. He's saying that for us as a people of faith, that there are. And that's what we should take into consideration. That, does this proclaim the good news or not?
Well, it's the same thing. Like church members are out there posting things, and people associate it back to your church. The same way as
Yes, they do.
I was looking for, a contractor for our house, but then I keep seeing people say, "Hey, use these people." Then I look at the comments on other people's posts, and I'm thinking, I don't want that person in my house.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the church. It's
Right.
all of us post things, and people that know where you go to church think that the whole congregation
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah. And that is my response that I have wanted to say to people is, please don't tell folks you're a Christian. They might believe you. And but but James is trying to call our attention to that, and it is an uncomfortable passage because we do know this. We do know that words hurt us. I mean, and that words can really be destructive to people. And it's that other adage of once you've said it and you go, well, I was just kidding, or I was just being sarcastic. It's like, put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't do that. You cannot do that. I've tried. It's hard to put toothpaste back in the tube. You cannot. So that is, but there's another side of this too that he's talking about, James, that our words can be amazing to people. They can really be helpful. I share one today from a 10th grade teacher. A 10th grade teacher who gave me a C for my final grade, and what was the best teacher I ever had to make me think that I could actually accomplish something. She did give me a C, but
Did she give you a C?
you see, there you go.
You earned a C, huh?
I
I mean, I'm just asking.
Time's up. Time's up, y'all. I told you, I talk too much. Let's pray. Gracious God, wow, Scripture can be so current and update, though it was written so long ago, and can confront us right where we are for things that we think about. That as people who call ourselves disciples of Jesus Christ, we have the opportunity with our words to say amazing, wonderful, uplifting things to you, and we can do the same to each other and others around us. May we be faithful to do that.